They say some moments don't arrive with thunder. They slip in quietly, almost shy, like a breath you didn't notice you were holding. And yet they change everything. I used to believe heartbreak came with shouting, with slammed doors, with shattering glass. But mine began with a whisper, one soft, persistent sound drifting through an ordinary day. A sound so small it could have been ignored. A sound that should have been ignored. But I didn't walk away. I stepped toward it, and that choice rewrote my entire life. Our home looked perfect from the outside. People would drive by and admire the painted walls, the clean windows catching morning light, the garden trimmed just enough to look effortless. But perfection can be a disguise. Inside, something colder lived with us. Silence, not the gentle kind that lets you rest, but the kind that presses against your ribs, slow and heavy. There were nights when I lay in the same bed beside a man I once loved fiercely. Yet the distance between us felt wider than oceans. His back turned away, my breath held tight. Two people sharing a room, but not a life. It didn't happen all at once. Love never dies in a single night. It fades like a candle that flickers until the flame is too tired to fight. Birthdays became polite performances. Dinners turned into habits instead of moments. Even our laughter sounded rehearsed, as if we were both trying to remind ourselves that once, long ago, we had been something real. Sometimes I looked at him and wondered if he felt it too, that quiet crumbling under the surface. But neither of us spoke it aloud. Silence won every time. Then came that Tuesday morning. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, soft and warm. It was the kind of morning that should have felt peaceful. I remember the way my hands moved automatically through routine coffee, dishes, the familiar rhythm of a life I was trying so hard to keep intact. And then I heard it. A faint, steady sound from upstairs. Something rhythmic. Something deliberate. I froze. For a moment, logic whispered that it was nothing. Maybe a loose vent, maybe the old floorboard expanding. But my heart tightened in a way I couldn't ignore. There's a kind of knowing that lives deeper than thought. A knowing that hums in your bones. I climbed the stairs slowly. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the air itself thickened with every breath. The door to the room was slightly open, just enough to spill a thin strip of light across the hallway floor. I stood there for a moment, listening. The sound continued, soft, steady, too intentional to be chance. My fingers trembled as I pushed the door open just a little more. Inside, I saw the glow of a screen, and then the words, raw, intimate, words he had written for someone who was not me. My breath caught so sharply it felt like the world narrowed to a single point. He looked up, and in that instant, guilt swept across his face like a storm. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Everything screamed in the silence between us. That night, we sat across from each other at the table, pretending to eat a dinner neither of us tasted. He kept his eyes lowered, pushing food around his plate. I watched the man I had once trusted with every corner of my heart, and all I could see was distance, cold, fragile, sharp like broken glass. The kind you can't pick up without bleeding. I wanted to ask why. I wanted to shout. I wanted to cry. But instead, silence curled around us again, heavier than ever. I knew we were both waiting for the other to speak first, but neither of us did. The days that followed blurred together. Every sound felt like an echo, every glance a reminder. I caught myself replaying everything, years of memories. Years of moments trying to understand where we'd stopped holding each other and started pretending instead. I told myself to be strong. But strength feels different when the only thing filling your home is quiet. I felt myself shrinking inside it, pressed into corners I didn't know existed. Then came Friday. The sound again. That same quiet rhythm rising from upstairs like a ghost of the moment that shattered us. My pulse hammered against my ribs. But this time, I didn't freeze. I didn't hesitate. I climbed those stairs with the weight of every unsaid word behind me. When I opened the door, he flinched like a man caught between guilt and fear. My voice came out softer than I expected. Why? Why wasn't I enough? His mouth opened, but his excuses fell apart before they formed. He whispered that it meant nothing. But it did. It meant everything. It meant our silence had been louder than our love. I stood there, waiting for a truth he couldn't give. And then he said something that made my heart stop. There's more you need to know. The rest of his sentence never came.